Started. I'm
Okay.
gonna close out the chat here. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this very special webinar. I'm Stephanie from Healthie, and today we have with us Kelly Springer. Kelly is a registered dietitian, and she's the founder of Kelly's Choice. It is a nationwide nutrition organization known for creating educational content and nutrition programs. For the past decade, Kelly has been creating video content to help deliver educational programs to corporate employees across America. Honing her video skills over the past 6 years, Kelly has mastered video production. So Kelly, we are really excited to have you here today to share your wealth of knowledge. We've got a really ambitious agenda, so why don't we just jump right in?
Wonderful. And for everyone, this is being recorded. So just so you know, someone just asked that in the chat. So it is being recorded. And I'm so happy you're all here. I love the word mastering video content. I'm not sure if I'm there yet, but I am going to share all my secrets. So hopefully that helps everybody.
Great. So let's get started. Our first topic. Kelly, can you tell us why video content? What is the value of video content for wellness professionals?
Okay, so when I first started Kelly's Choice in 2012, I was pushing into organizations by foot, right? I was going into each and every place. And it wasn't until I met this wonderful man named Joe Markland out of Boston. And he said, Kelly, I have this HR company that's nationwide, and I would love to be able to have them get all of your content. So can we clone you? And we were laughing. And he's like, okay, the way to clone you is through video content. So that's how the whole thing started about 6 years ago. And I dove straight in. So I was like, how do I do this? Where do I do this? And so it's so impactful because now we're able to reach nationwide, and going this year, 2021, we're going international, which is really exciting. So, and I wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for video content.
Kelly, we've had the pleasure of speaking together in the past, and I know a little bit about your story. I've interviewed you. And one thing that always resonates with me that you shared was that when you were delivering programs like in-person corporate programs, you couldn't reach every single person that was at that company. Not all of the warehouse workers could be at the lunch and learns. And just tell me, and share that little bit of the story about why it's so important to reach everyone that you can with your videos.
So we truly have the new thought process of population health, that everyone should have access to nutrition education. And I know probably every single person on this chat today is really thinking about that as well. So something that really hit me and really hurt deeply was I was at a big company called Well Challenge, which is now bought by Hillrom. And I was there doing a 12-week diabetes course. And this woman came up to me as I was leaving with her hairnet on, and she had been working on the manufacturing floor. And she said, I was recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, but I'm not allowed to leave the floor to be a part of your education. And it really hit me in a way that we were only giving education to the skirts and suits. We were only giving education to the people that could have a lunch break at noon. And so that's where with this video content, it's 24/7 access. Everyone has the ability to get this education. And we even open it up to families. So when we're working with work sites, for instance, and we're giving out this video content, we do not charge for family members. So we are truly about getting this education to everyone because it's not being done otherwise. So that's kind of how this video content is going to reach everyone.
I love that. And it's really stuck with me. So now that we talked about why, and I think that it's fair to say that beyond corporate wellness, there is so much use for your videos that you could do in any setting, whether it's an outpatient, clinical, corporate wellness, private practice. You can reach more people with videos and clone yourself, so to speak, to get that education to everyone who needs. So now that we know why video content, I think we have to talk about the difference between simply creating videos and building a content library. Can you talk to us about what a content library is and some smart first steps towards building one?
Okay, so when you're thinking about programs, for instance, and thinking about how you're going to put this together, think about in the way of mini topics. So let's take vitamins and minerals. So we're going to say vitamins and minerals are a mini topic. So we can do a welcome video to vitamins and minerals and why we're speaking about that. And then you can do little short videos on vitamin K. You can do it on potassium. You can do it on vitamin D, vitamin E. And so right there, you have a plethora of content that you can put with that one program. Or say you're going to do it on autoimmune diseases. What are autoimmunes? That's your welcome video. And then you segment out the different autoimmunes and how they would be affected with nutrition. So you're really thinking about different mini topics and then getting the videos underneath it. So hopefully that helps. But so like right now with a very large international company, we're actually putting together these programs for them and thinking about what are their initiatives, what are they trying to put out, how are they reaching their loyalty customers, who are their loyalty customers. So in this one company, for instance, they have a huge group of like college age athletes. So what is a topic we can do there? We can talk about iron levels or deficiencies. How do you build performance on the field? So there's a whole bunch of things going even around that age group. Or if we're working with geriatrics, so we're thinking about, the older population, women going through menopause, or men, or men and women losing bone loss. So you're thinking about it in different ways, but don't think you have to do every topic under the sun. There's going to be plenty of time to keep building the library. But I think doing it in the way of almost like a series is the easiest way. Then you're not so scattered. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and that plays right into their next question. I think when it comes to nutrition and wellness, there's this vast ocean of topics that we could talk about and that we're trained on and that we're educated
Right.
on. But how should you think about choosing your topics that are really going to resonate with your listeners?
Well, I think it's finding out who your listeners are. So, what kind of practice do you have? Do you mainly focus on women 45 to 60? Then you're going to talk about women's health and everything around women's health. Or are you focusing on diabetes and you're fully in that realm and you're talking about sugar intake, protein, fiber sources? So you do want to start off with your own target area. For instance, I don't do a lot with renal, so I'm not going to even go into that section unless someone specifically asks me to do a video on that. It's not really my realm. But it's fun. I actually like when people ask me to kind of step out of that, my comfort zone. Yesterday I did a IG live with Jamie Lee. She's really fun, and it was on tofu. So a whole video content basically on IG live. And that's now we're going to do a video on it because I learned so much from Dr. Boz at Syracuse University, who taught me like the ins and outs about phytoestrogens and everything else. So it's kind of neat when you get like prompted to be asked to do a video that you don't know that much about. It's a way to educate yourself. So it's kind of neat that way too. But I think looking at your own population first is wise. The other thing is we're talking about social media. So Stephanie, we're just talking about it. And everyone on here, please check us out. Kelly Springer _RD. We're trying to reach our 10,000. And with the people on here, we could do it today. So make sure. And also, what is yours, Stephanie? So you can go to their social media.
Yeah, we are at Get Healthy. I'm going to pop these back in there into the chat.
Awesome.
Everyone can know where to find
So
them.
the reason why I'm bringing up social media is this is a way for you to connect to your audience. So you say to your audience, hey, I'm going to do some video content. What are some things that you would like to learn about? Right there, then you're getting interaction. You're getting your numbers kind of built up. You have some idea of what people are interested in. Or maybe you do a little questionnaire and you say, these are the top 3 topics I was thinking about doing videos on. Which one would you be interested? So it's a way to engage on your social media. And I'm also bringing up social media because you can use these videos on social media. I know we're going to get into how to use them a little bit later, but just, thinking about that these videos don't just have to be used in one sector. You can use them on multiple different angles.
We definitely need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Using and repurposing your content is such an important concept. I'm just going to pause to throw in a question here, which I think is a really great one from Michelle. How long should videos be?
That is a great question, Michelle. So when we first started, we were doing longer content videos they were a little too long. They were like 15 to 30 minutes. We now are trying to keep things to 2 minutes. It's one of those things of attention span. How much information can you get out? So when I was telling you about kind of putting together a series, we're breaking up the series. So we're not just doing one huge long video on vitamins and minerals, we're splicing it out. And that tends to be great in the way of having more content for you and also for your viewer. So it just makes it a little bit easier. So hopefully that helped. 2 minutes, not 10. So we were doing videos that, because we're trying to get in big topics like heart disease, this and that, but we still find like if you're going to take a topic like heart disease, it's great again to do like a welcome video of heart disease, who it affects, why you're doing this video, but then breaking it into sections about heart disease seems to be the best way.
So little digestible, bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, we actually have a whole series called Morsels. So just little morsels.
Little morsels, and I can certainly see that being in the content realm, the marketing realm and we think about ourselves as well. Like we just don't have time to sit down and watch 1 hour plus videos on topics that could be really, really intensive, a lot of information to learn. So the value of making it sort of bite-sized and drip out to patients is super valuable.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes like it's hard to cut it off, like knowing where to cut it off. And that's why some of your videos may be longer depending on what your topic is. So don't be like stuck on that 2 minutes. Like don't be stuck there. If it needs to be a little bit longer because you're getting into more detail, that's okay. Or if you're doing like a discussion with someone, that's okay. So don't feel like I just said like I set in stone 2 minutes. It's not always going to be like 2 minutes, but just thinking about your end user of how you're going to use these videos as well.
We have quite a few questions coming in, Kelly, and I think we can lump this in when we're talking more just about how to use your content and how maybe to think more about programs. But people are talking about storage platforms and where do you put your videos and how do you send them out? So we'll definitely address those questions. Here's a great question from Kim. Do you record all your short videos at one time?
It depends. So we're now doing probably about 15 videos a month. So we'll have our film crew actually come and be here for a week. So we're seeing how much we can get done in that one day. So it does take preparation. We actually have like a whiteboard that's sitting right next to me where we'll write like, what are the talking points for this video? And as I'm changing or doing whatever, they're scribbling down like, okay, these are all of the talk points are going to do for vitamin A. And so we are trying to get like the series done throughout the day. So it's just how many can you do? So it does get exhausting by the end, and your quality may dip. So I think that the max is like 5 to 6 videos. Otherwise, you really tend to drain out. And I like to start early. I'm not an early riser, but when doing video content, you do like you can tell the videos I did at the end of the day that I'm like, and this glass of water is really nice. Like I'm getting like out of it. So just make sure you're kind of planning for that. Don't try to pack in, like 10 videos a day would be a lot unless you're doing like really quick content.
So Kelly, let's switch gears and get down to brass tactics. And now I'm sure there are a lot of people are probably at different places in their video recording journey. Some of you might just be starting out. Others of you are maybe like video mavens and you're really hoping to take it to the next level. But let's just talk about getting started with videos and some brass tactics on how to record a video. Do they need to hire a professional production company from the get-go, or are there cost-effective tools and ways for them to start making and editing videos?
So we were just talking about this before we started. The iPhone has come so far, and even Samsung as well, that you can do a lot from your iPhone. A lot of the things that we're doing for companies, we are having professional videographers do the content because it's more about the editing for me than it is actually recording a video. Like I can sit here right now and record a video for, Instagram Live or for something like an intro. But when we're trying to put together content to sell to companies, it needs to look professional. It needs to have that, the intro that slides in. There needs to be graphics next to me. There needs to be things that are happening. So if you have that kind of skill, which I don't, I have to hire that out. But it does, when we're talking about cost, it does save you money if you can do multiple videos in one day. So we were thinking about that, like, obviously don't pack in too much. But by having that film crew kind of come with me and be with me for a week, they can block off and like keep the cost down a little bit. But so there's a lot you can do if you're starting out. Just start with your iPhone, but it depends on how you want to use it. So if you're using it for social media, if you're using it for your own website, like even if these are just like welcome, these are the programs I have, it's fine. But if you're going to start selling it to corporate, you probably need to hire a videographer.
Kelly, we've had a couple questions just on equipment that might be needed for, if you, let's say you're taking it beyond just the iPhone. And I know you also have some suggestions for really affordable, simple equipment, but talk to us about equipment from the very basic to maybe a list of what might be required on the fancier end.
So we were saying a lot of this, I was running with my friend, my next door neighbor this morning, and she's like, everyone looked really good on the nursery school board Zoom last night. She's like, I asked, and they all have the ring light. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, Megan, they're $10 on Amazon. And she's like, really? I thought they were like really expensive. So the ring light is something like super easy. It's going to give you that light. I use it when I do TV in my kitchen. There's an IKEA light that's sitting right next to me right now. I mean, it just depends, but you definitely want to have some form of lighting and watch shadows. Like right now, I don't really care. I'm just trying to light the room a little bit, but you want to make sure you're watching shadows, that you don't have some weird angle coming at you. But definitely like just having some type of light, inexpensive. But we got our mic off of Amazon. We got the stand that holds like the tripod off it. Like everything was inexpensive. Obviously their video equipment is expensive, but a lot of the things that we do like right from our iPhone are not, and you can get them for very, very, very cheaply.
All right, so let's just recap. If you're doing it from really simplistic point of view, you've got your phone, you can get a little tripod for it, a mic, and a light. And that's like a really basic professional setup for recording your own videos.
So these are like, I have my little mic, I have my stand. Look there's other things hanging off of it. My husband's a surgeon, so there's always medical supplies in every drawer. But these are things that are really, really super simple, keeping everything steady and even so you're not bouncing or someone's watching you. But there's so many easy things and tools that make the recording easy.
I think a great question that came in from Carolina. Do you show slides and images on your videos? So talking videos versus more presentation style videos.
Great question. So when we first started, I remember this day better than anything. So this is a whole learning curve. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of people doing what I was doing. And actually, we were the very first company to have video content with Healthie, which is kind of neat. We were the pilot. So when we were doing it, there was one day that the film crew said to me, because we were pulling up the PowerPoint next to me, and he said, do you own the pictures in these PowerPoints? And I looked at my manager and she looked at me and we were like, no, we don't. So we had to stop recording. We had to run in, grab his computer, switch out every single picture. Because if you're showing anything in a video, like normally with a PowerPoint, we were just sharing it and going through information, so it didn't matter. But if you're showing it in the way of a video and you're using pictures and things that aren't yours, you could be in a host of different troubles. So just make sure you own your own. You can definitely show a PowerPoint next to you, or you can have it pulled up on the screen. So you're doing double or dual screen, but just make sure that's something that we learned really early on. And we had to go back and redo a couple videos because they asked the question basically third presentation in. So it's like one of those things that we really truly learned the hard lesson, and it actually sucked up the entire day of production. But now we're not going to get sued for using somebody else's pictures through our video content. One of those things, right? So,
We
but you
definitely,
can definitely, yeah, yeah.
for sure.
So still to this day, I'm like, do we own those pictures? Every day I'm like asking, as we have a lot of interns that help us, so I'm like, we need to own the pictures. I don't care if it costs $99 a month. Like, I don't want to get sued. And I have been sued for pictures 3 times because one of our writers used pictures in a blog that went to Newsmax, and we got sued for the pictures. So that, if I can give you any piece of advice, just make sure you pay for your own pictures. They're inexpensive and you can definitely do it. Oh, how do you own your own? So you
Yeah.
can go to any of the sites, you pay, what is it? Like some of them are like $19 a month and you can get unlimited pictures, or you can get like, 9 pictures a month or something like that. There's tons of different sites where you can purchase them. Like Canva. Yeah, you can there's a whole bunch of pics, like a whole bunch of different things. But once you pay for it, you can show. So if anyone comes back at you, you can show that you paid for those pictures. So not to get off topic, but it's a big piece.
Legal is definitely one of our questions that we wanted to cover. I'm going to, before we switch gears to asking more about making sure that legally you're owning your content, because that is so important. There are a few questions from people coming in more on if they're going to hire a video production team, how much can we expect to spend on video production per hour, per day, and also editing as well?
So we got the quote recently that it is about $300 per minute of filming. So that was a quote recently. It could be, depending on where you are, there's some people that are in San Diego, New York City, it may be higher. It depends on the kind of group that you get. Like the first group that we had was like a production company where they had like a production manager and they had a film crew, and so we were actually paying for the production company more than we were paying for the videographer. So after learning that, we went straight to the videographer, we cut out the middleman, and we saved a ton of money. So now like we go straight to the video people, and we're like, we're not paying for these other services because we can do it ourselves. So it's around that much. That might be on the mid range. But if you think about, if you're doing 2-minute videos, you can expect to pay, somewhere between 900 to 1500 per video. So it can get costly of putting this together, but this is where that actually includes like the editing piece as well. So, if you're going to be able to edit, or you want really just simple, clean video, it may be even less. So definitely I would recommend seeing the person's scope of work. What have they done in the past? What is the look that you're going for? And definitely you could definitely vet some out. Like I wouldn't just go with your first video person. We tried to go with like this at first, these 2 young kids, and we're like, oh, it's going to be fun. They're inexpensive. It was a disaster. They didn't know what they were doing. The sound quality was terrible. So just cheaper is not better in a lot of cases.
A very true point. I'm sure we've learned that. I've learned that lesson in other ways as well. It really goes a long way to ask for people's portfolios and
Mhm.
references as well, so that you can get a sense of what their work will look like and the quality of work that you can expect from them.
That's right. That's right. So, and just make sure to understand, this is another piece. Someone just asked, is that 300 minimum of final product? You have to ask the videographer, because they might say it's $300 per minute of filming, and they might have like a film price and a final price. That's something we didn't know either. So we had someone come in and work with us. She was just doing like photos and things, stuff like that. So she's like, oh, just to come in for the day, it's going to be $700. And we're like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. We're going to get all this video and like stuff for social media. No, that was her price for the day. She charged us for every single picture after that. And it was a really awkward conversation to be like, so just make sure you understand that point too. Like you need to be very clear with the contract of whatever you're doing, because you might get hit on the back end, which you don't think of. Either it's the editing or even the pictures or videos themselves. So that was something that I kind of had to learn the hard way. And it was definitely an awkward situation to deal with. So just make sure you're clear with whoever you're working with.
Kelly, I know there's a lot of questions and we're going to try and make sure that we get to the Q&A at the end. So if you do have a question and it's getting lost in the chat, please just pop it into the Q&A box. I wanted to move on to talking about legal because I think we just briefly touched on that, but this is probably a place where as dietitians and wellness professionals, this is not something that you've been trained on to know how to protect your content and make sure that you're legally not violating any laws or regulations while you're producing your video. So could you just speak a little bit more towards that, some basics to know?
Well, so in the way of like trademarking or any of that, we do have our logos trademarked. I have not gone as deep as to trademark every single video yet. It's one of those things that, and it is a conversation, and you have to kind of go in the way of what if someone stole this information? From my standpoint, I know how costly it would be to fight that in a legal battle. So is it worth it for me to go through how costly it would be to get everything trademarked up front? Because that's a very costly, lengthy process. And then if someone does take my content, it's a whole costly, lengthy process as well. So it's something that you need to think about. Do you want to go through that process? That is something that you need to talk to a lawyer about. But in the way of content, I usually have, and I'm looking over at like my area in my office because I was filming here a lot last month. I have like 3 dietitians in the room and usually a couple interns to make and fact check me. So when I'm speaking, there's a lot of times that I'm like, wait a minute, stop, look that up. Wait a minute, did I say that right? And so like I'm always like checking myself and making sure that the content I'm saying is correct. Because there's sometimes where if you're just speaking on video without having a teleprompter, we may go a little rogue or we may say something that we went down like a path that doesn't make any sense. So sometimes they'll look at me and they go, that didn't make any sense. So we have to like redo it. So it's nice if you can have someone in the room that you trust that's also like fact checking and like being able to throw you some information. Also, like I said, like in being prepared of the facts that you have, you can definitely cite like where you found the information while you're doing videos or have a reference section after the video if you need to. It's something that I haven't really dove highly in because I'm not giving like, fast facts, but if we're giving like actual facts, you should cite the CDC or cite, different places where you get the information. So that covers you in that way too. With all of our PowerPoints and handouts, just recently, we're actually going through and revamping everything, and we're citing every single thing that we're doing in the way of hard copy handouts. So just so you know, like that's something we're doing. Using a teleprompter, that's something I want to talk about. So I did a bunch of videos through Teleprompter. I love the Teleprompter. I love it. And they actually have this really neat feature where you can use your iPhone and it has like a mirror which pushes it down so you can reflect it back up. And so you can use your own iPhone as a teleprompter, which is really, really cool. There's an app for that. And I love the teleprompter because I know that everything I'm saying has been fact checked and I'm actually just reading and like smiling versus thinking about smiling and my hair and then what am I saying, and like there's a lot of other aspects, but there's 2 sides to it. I have, recently a lot of advice has been they love when I free talk and they love that interaction and they like it better than me doing a teleprompter. So I don't know. It's up to you. I think it's easier with the teleprompter. You also can do closed captioning because all the things that you're saying are truly what's written. So you can send them in for closed captioning. So it's up to you if you want to do a teleprompter or not. Just make sure you're far enough away and the words are below the camera. If the words are below, you can't tell you're reading. If the words are above, you can see the whites of your eyes move. So that's a really good tip. Okay, so
Fantastic tip.
yeah. So if the words are right below, you can't tell you're reading at all. It's so weird. But if you're right above, it's like you can see your eyes moving.
Kelly, you might know we've had a couple questions here, and I think they're fantastic questions. You may or may not know the answer. I know you're not a lawyer, but can you just speak a little bit to the difference? I know you mentioned trademarking, but what about intellectual property and copywriting?
So the trademark was for a logo and for an image. And if you're going to get into copywriting, that's more into like your books and your content. I have not gone on the copyright angle, and it's been something that's been asked, like, are you going to go there? Do you need it to go there? It's a lot of money. It's a lot. And so that's where I think with everything that we're talking about today, I had to pick and choose. I had to pick and choose because I didn't have huge loans. I did this all on my own. No one was like handing me $100,000 to say, here, do video content, here, do copywriting. So I had to say, all right, I'm going to do a couple videos that I can pay for this month. I can do this or that. So that's where, hiring a lawyer, just so for instance, I had to just do a large contract recently. That one contract legally cost me $9,000 from a lawyer to make sure it was correct and I was doing it correctly. If I were to go into doing all the content I have copyrighted, I have over 500 documents, 100 PowerPoint presentations, over, I don't know, 250 videos. Can you imagine what that cost would look like? It just is something that's too daunting to me. Is it necessary? It might be. It might be if someone just took our whole library. But in that same sense, there's enough people that I can keep going. So I don't know. I'm like, good luck. Take the content and see what happens. I don't know. But it's tough. It's just hard because then if someone does take it, you're going to have to fight it legally. And the cost of that is going to be huge. So it's one of those things, like maybe if you can do like each thing you do, like if you do each video and have that copyrighted, it may make more sense. Like me now, it's just like there's too much. So
Another great question from Janet, and I know it's been asked above as well in the chat. What if you have you ever had a guest come and present, or you only do your own videos? As far as then who owns the rights to that video, if you're hosting and have somebody else come present?
great question. So we just had a chef do a whole series. He did 6 videos and we had him sign something that said, these videos are ours. So we actually had a contract written up. We paid him for the day. So he was paid for his time, but we paid for the actual content and made him sign a piece of paper that said, these videos are owned by Kelly's Choice and to be used only for Kelly's Choice.
Kelly,
so that's a great question, though.
That's a really great question. Switching gears a little bit more, as far as we've talked about why video content, how video content, but what are we going to do with our videos? How are we getting it in front of clients, in front of patients? How can we get creative with then repurposing and using our video content?
All right. So the first thing is, where do you store them? Okay. So now you made them. Where do they go? Right. So you can either host them on Vimeo, you can host them on YouTube. It depends on where you want to host them, but you probably want to make sure you're saving them privately. They're not going to be public because then they're just going to go out to everyone. So just make sure you make change that little tab for your videos, but they're held on either Vimeo or YouTube. So in Healthie is so amazing because I can then upload those videos from Vimeo right to our Healthie program section. And so they can be stored there. And then when I sign up a work site and they say, we want to get signed on for your 5-star program, boom, the videos start going out to that company. So Healthie makes it extremely easy to kind of set up programs because they have it in an automated way. And also that everything is very detailed and organized in that way too. If you're going to be using it for social media, you could have a social media calendar where you could do video content on ice cream day in July. You could do it on burger day, whatever, and do little mini video content with that. With social media, just so you know, iPhones are fine. You do not have to have professional. A lot of people even don't like the professional. They want it more authentic. So doing like videos that way on social media can be done right from your iPhone, and you can kind of set it up that way too. Again, you can still host it on your Vimeo or YouTube. And it's nice also because you can see like later on, like if we do a program with Healthie, you can still see on Vimeo how many people watched it, which is kind of cool too. So you can kind of give reporting back to a company. You also, what we're doing is our video content is used in hospitals on their waiting room screens. So they have actually a running reel of those nutrition videos being used that way. They can be used in stores. So we work with a company called Kinney Drugs, and they could be in, when you're waiting for your prescriptions, our videos are running. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use that video content and think about those different, revenue lines of how you're going to get out those videos so that it will cover the cost. Just so you're aware, so I created 70 videos to begin with. It was a huge cost, right? So I probably, between the writer for the videos, the production, everything, it was probably around $85,000 that I was able to pay for over that year. With 2 companies, I was able to cover that cost. So it instantly paid itself off with it just having 2 companies pay for that content. So the return on investment is huge. And now that that content's built, it just keeps going out and keeps getting repurposed. So
many good questions coming in. I want to circle back because this is such a fantastic topic, and it kind of blows your mind as a wellness professional when you're like, programs. Programs are a way to reach people and automatically send your content. Can you talk about when you do create a program, is it just videos? Are you adding in other content? I know you use Healthie, but just a little bit about what a program looks like for you.
So our programs do have written content with them as well. So when we do a video, almost always it's paired with a PowerPoint, it's paired with a handout, and it's paired with a newsletter. So we take that content and we do it in all of those ways. So when we actually put together a program on Healthie, it looks like that coming out. So when someone goes into the program, on Monday, they get the video, the handout is attached to it. On Wednesday, they're getting the newsletter. So they're getting it multiple different ways. And so it's really nice that way because we're all different learners, that some of them are, definitely are visual, some are audible. It just depends on what kind of learner you are. So we're giving them that information that they can print out, they can look at, they can go dive deeper in. And also with having the PowerPoint paired with it is that we can do a webinar on that topic too. So in speaking of that, like in the way of webinars, so if we do let's say we do a webinar on food is medicine. So we do a whole webinar on food is medicine for a company. So we're pulling up the PowerPoint, being able to share that PowerPoint. And then if people weren't able to be on the webinar, instead of recording the webinar, we send the video. The video is professionally done. The video looks a lot better. No one's chatting in. It's very clean. And so we're not having to even worry about recording the webinar. It just sends the video. So there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of splice it and use these videos that are going to assist you.
So helpful. Kelly, let me just roll back to my questions here. One question before we open up for Q&A. We do have a lot of questions, so I want to save some time there. Let's see. Can you talk just a little bit more about how you now take your content, your programs, and get it in front of clients? Marketing tactics, the investment that you make there, because we can make videos, but it doesn't mean that clients will just come and watch them. So a little bit about how you've managed to be really successful in getting your programs and video in front of clients.
So you have to I know COVID was a weird year and everything was shut down, but now that things are opening back up, you have to get into networking groups. So you need to get yourself out to, your local chamber or local entrepreneur groups, or I'm thinking like different community groups, because you need people to understand and meet you so that you can say, hey, would you ever, want nutrition education for your employees? Let me show you what it looks like. I can show you a demo over Zoom. So you need to be able to get into those kind of circles to get your word out. Kelly's Choice grew organically for the past 9 years. We actually didn't have a formal sales team until this year. So everything that we were doing was in that way of organic reach, of saying, hey, you have this company, or, my friend's husband has this company. Would you be interested in nutrition education? And it was really just talking to people and getting in those circles that really kind of grew the business and grew getting in. Now we have a formalized sales team, which has a sales projection. We actually have a sales video. So you can use this video content on so many different ways. But we have a sales video that they can use, a sales presentation, a whole model, which now they can sell out the content. And now that it's built, the sales team is, it's pretty easy. I'm not going to say easy for them, but it's easier because we have a whole content library built that they can show of how to get this into companies. So, but just start off, you can mix and match. You can do some live presentations, video content. You don't have to do all video all at once. We're still doing a mixture. Even today, we're doing a lot of mix of in-person and video content as well. People still like people and they want to have them, in front of them too. So, you really want to make sure that you can mix it up, especially as you build the content. Okay.
Great question coming in, and I think one that really speaks to wellness professionals. How do you convince people it is worth paying for to get your programs and to view your video content? And companies, in your case, as you sell your programs and videos to a lot of corporate companies.
So we were lucky that there was a couple different studies done. There was a RAND study and a Harvard study that was done on the ROI of worksite wellness. And there was an ROI done, and that's return on investment. So there was one done on just using like wellness, like so a running program or, basically, a headspace, something like that. But then they did one with nutrition. Just changing one type 2 diabetic for an organization saves that company over $13,000 a year. That one return on investment will pay for the program. So this is where you need to target and say, literally, nutrition was the missing link in this wellness program forever. We started, because I know this, because I started with Wegmans Food Markets. They started with walking programs and pedometers, and it wasn't touching the bottom line. They weren't able to bring down the cholesterol levels, the weight. And I use Wegmans as an example because I was hired as the employee for the employee wellness dietitian. So until they brought in dietitians and actually had that connection, we were able to drop their numbers. And it was so important because they were self-insured and they were just getting killed with those diabetic numbers, the heart disease, the high blood pressure. So when you're going in, I want you to truly understand what we're doing is truly affecting health. Population health. We are bringing down numbers. We have the ability to truly reverse type 2 diabetes. We have the ability to reverse heart disease, high blood pressure. There's no other part of wellness that has that much impact. So as you can tell, I'm a little bit passionate about it. And maybe that's why I've been successful in this field, but it's just, I've seen it. I've been in this for 20 years and I've seen people bring their A1Cs from 10 down to 4. I've seen it happen with these programs. And so it's just getting passionate and really, truly showing the results. We're now doing our own white papers on group nutrition education using video content and using groups. We just did it with Oneonta University and Kinney Drugs. We proved it. We dropped A1Cs in every single person that went through the program. We did it also with the YMCA. And we proved it there too. So we're constantly trying to develop those new materials and do our own research as well. But get passionate when you're reaching out to these companies. You want to truly, cite the CDC on that diabetes number. I mean, $13,000 for changing one type 2. That's pretty impactful.
That is super helpful to know, Kelly. Really powerful when we put it in those terms. And I think a really great way to put it in terms is results, right? Yes. Results and ROI, because when you're trying to take your content programs and sell it to companies, they care about results and ROI. And it is our job as wellness professionals to show that data. Kelly, there's a lot of people who want to know, can they have the link to those studies that you referenced? Would it be okay for them to email you? How would you like to share those links?
Yes. So my email, I put it in here. It's kellyspringer@live.com. Kelly Springer at Live. And and we were just talking about, I want you to email me anyway, because we're hiring dietitians. We're plugging this in right now because it's a good time. But we're actually we're growing rapidly. Things are really cool. It's very exciting. And we're probably going to be hiring 40 new dietitians in this next year, probably about 20 of them in the next few months. So if you're interested also in joining together, I have, from the very moment I started Kelly's Choice, I was getting dietitians with me. I think that if we are a strong army, we're going to have better results. We're going to have more power against the insurance companies, and we really need to bond together. So I've always been one to build dietitians up and work together on this. So if any of you want to email me as well, you could definitely reach out. But yes, kellyspringer@live.com would be great. But I just, I hope that you get energized from this too, because I think that we really have so much to offer. It's just, I guess, that self-assurance too, right? Of knowing like we're doing something really good.
Let's switch over and start delving into some of our Q&A questions in the last 10 minutes that we have. And thank you all for sending these questions. We're going to do our best to answer them all. We've put Kelly's email into the chat, Kelly Springer at live.com. So if you do have questions and want to follow up or be in touch, you absolutely can. I also want to mention, if you're interested in the software that Kelly uses to run her programs, that is Healthie. It's a platform for nutrition and wellness professionals, and it has a programs feature. I encourage you, if you'd like to do a demo, I've popped that link as well into the chat. It is calendly.com/healthie, HEALTHIE/webinar. And I'll pop it in there again, but let's switch over to our Q&A questions. Let me just give me 1 second to read through, because we've had so many.
Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit about Healthie. So I was really lucky to find Erica Jane and to meet Kevin very early on in this whole process. So I have been with them for this entire time. It makes my life so easy. Everything is organized. All the documents are in one place. The programs are in one place. There's a chat feature. And I wasn't even asked to promote Healthie on this talk, but it makes my life so easy. My dietitians are on there. They have the ability to do food journaling and exercise tracking, and it connects to all the devices. And so it makes video content easy, because when I first was starting out, they said, okay, well, there's a site that does scheduling, and there's a site that does video hosting, and there's a site that does the connection with the dietitian. And I was like, I can't have people going to 3 different places. And there's also the billing site and how you do insurance. This is all in one place. So from my private practice, my worksite wellness, everything that I do under that nutrition realm is in one section, which is amazing. So I just have to say, like, it makes my life so easy.
Really great question, and thank you for speaking to Healthie, Kelly. A great question that came through here, and we were talking about this before the call: insurance versus self-pay. How that works right now that you're selling these programs to companies for their corporate employees to use. Talk to us about that.
So we are diving into insurance, and this is going to be a whole nother topic that Stephanie and I were like, okay, this is like a whole nother hour. This is going to be like a whole thing. So we are diving heavily into the insurance side. So we recently just got certified with, or credentialed with, Blue Cross, Cigna. We are United Health, we're Empire Plan. And so it's really interesting of how it all works. So under United Health, we're actually doing our first pilot program with the greater YMCAs. And as we're doing webinars, we're able to actually bill their insurance for the group, the code of group education. So it's the first pilot kind of doing it that way. And we're following it up with video content. So it's interesting that this is the first time that we're able to do worksite wellness through insurance. So it is interesting that there's more coverage for nutrition than ever before. So when I first started Kelly's Choice in 2012, there really wasn't great reimbursement for any of these services, but now there is. But you have to be careful of the coding. So if you're doing group education, I don't use video content for that charting. I actually use, like, if I'm doing a live webinar, because I'm a little leery if it's going to cover. So just so like, and I think the rules are going to, I'm not sure where it's going. So I use the video to back me up, but for to actually build the insurance, I make sure I'm live, if that makes sense. Okay. So just, you could talk to your own insurance, person if you're in with an insurance company right now. Um, but I'm treading these waters very carefully, just because I don't want to do anything that's going to like number one, either kick us out or insurance fraud. So I'm really trying to figure out all of these aspects. And as I learn, I'm happy to share it with you, because we now have a biller and we are now nationwide. We have dietitians in Texas and Florida and North Carolina. And what's the difference between like contracting and how do you submit the contracting's NPI number? Like it's a whole thing, that we're figuring out in this network. So I'll be happy to, do another one of these on what we're finding out with insurance and how that all works.
Kelly, I perhaps lost you for a second. I think we're frozen. Can you guys pop into the chat if you can hear me? Okay, so I think that Kelly is frozen, unfortunately. Give us 1 second. Really sorry about that, everyone. Hopefully Kelly will pop back in a minute. If you just want to hang tight and we can, I think she's there. You're back.
Yay.
Woo! Awesome. All right, so glad you're back. And I think that's a really great question. So insurance, navigating those waters for pay, of course, things have been changing because of COVID with reimbursement for telehealth. That is a whole topic on its own. Prior to delving into the realm of insurance, Kelly, were you primarily selling the programs to companies and then they would just pay you a contract rate to be used or per client? Can you talk about that more self?
Yes. Yeah. So we do sell it on a per person per month, and we have a sliding scale. So with our programs, we're saying, okay, you can have these 4 programs for, let's say, $5 per person per month. And as you have more and more people on it, so if you go all the way up to, 20,000 users, it goes as low as 50 cents per person per month. So you're kind of on that sliding scale. But I got to tell you, pricing has been one of the hardest things of like, how much is the value? How much are they willing to pay? Is the company paying for it? Are they splitting it with the employee? So that's where every contract that I've had has been different. There hasn't been just like one cookie cutter. We have some companies that are like, we want private practice and the programs, or we just want webinars, or we just want video content. So I think being flexible has been also a reason why we've been successful, is that we don't have like, you have to go this route. We're willing to kind of work and navigate around whatever their employer group is looking for.
Really great point. So it's about speaking with the company and about what their actual needs are and goals,
right,
and then helping to develop the right package of services.
Correct.
That would be fit their needs there.
Right. And sometimes if you even just start off with a webinar, it could get you in the door to sell more products. So don't set yourself up for failure. Like anything you can get, like take the apple. It's going to bring more apples. So just like, little by little. So if you just start off small, it probably will lead into you being able to sell more products as you go.
Kelly, a really great question. I think just about expectations about how long it's going to take you to build a content library to see a profit. I know you talked a little bit, but a specific question is, how long has it really taken you to get from where you started to where you are, and what can our listeners sort of expect in their journey, perhaps?
Well, it's like I said, so building it in the beginning, I was like, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to do this? So I saved for a few years prior to going into the video content. So I actually took, some of the work I was doing in person, like I was working in a school district, I was doing all these different things. So I kind of put away money so then I could pay for the video content. I never got myself in debt. And that's something, you can think about debt in different ways, but for me, I never wanted to go into debt or even share ownership with somebody else. So that's where you have to think about what cost it's going to be and how you're going to pay for it. But I have to tell you, it was 110% worth doing. It was a lot of money. But now I've been able to use these in we're in 1,000 companies nationwide that are all purchasing these products. And think about that there's 1,000 people that now have the ability to book private practice on top of it or book a webinar. So they were kind of my avenue to get in and to be able to build up our social media. So the return on investment of doing this has been so huge for me. And also that you can reach all those shifts. You can reach people in California while I sit in New York, so it really has been worthwhile. But I do think you have to plan out and think about what you're going to do and be strategic about it.
Kelly, we've had quite a few questions just come in about if you'd be willing to share the links to the microphone and the tripod and the lights.
Sure.
Can our listeners also reach out to you just for links on specific equipment that you don't mind recommending?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're probably going to look at it once I send it to you and be like, oh, that's not anything special. And my camera crew is really fun. There are two young people from LA that come out and they keep things inexpensive. So you'll probably be shocked at the things that we've ordered and we use, but I'll be happy to share that with you.
Yes, and looking at some of our other questions, I just want people to not feel intimidated when you get started with video production. Kelly has mentioned this. There are really simple ways to get started, very simple software that you can use as far as even your iPhone and editing on your iPhone. And so don't feel intimidated. And there is definitely, you can grow towards more quality production depending on what your needs for those videos are. So really anyone can get started with the content. Kelly, is it fair to say it's just about having some intention behind choosing your topics and thinking about your audience and then really packaging it well to deliver to your customers? And
that's it. And have fun with it. No one wants to see a boring dietitian standing up there, have fun, do fun graphics, have a good time with it and make it really interesting and relatable.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. There are more questions. We are still here to support you, but this video recording is going to go live. I will send it out to everyone this afternoon so you can have a chance to rewatch it. You have the contact information for Kelly. You are more than welcome to message her with some of those questions, as well as if you are interested in joining her team. If you are interested in Healthie as a software, you can reach out to us as well. There's a demo link, or you can email us, hello@gethealthy.com. We are absolutely here to help you all. We are so thankful that you joined in. Kelly, thank you for your time.
Thank you. These had great questions and great interaction. So thanks, everybody. I look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.